Hello friends, in today's video talk, we will look at the basic aspects of the Constitution of India. To begin with, the Constitution of India is the longest written constitution in the world. It is a handiwork of a drafting committee that was set up by the Constituent Assembly. Now, let us look at what the Constituent Assembly was. The Constituent Assembly had 296 members from British India, while 93 came from the various princely states. It was headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who went on to become the first president of this country. It appointed a drafting committee which was headed by Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar. Now, as you know, the drafting committee took a little under 3 years to come up with this noble document. Finally, the Constitution of India was adopted on the 26th of November 1949. But it took another 2 months. It was another 2 months before it was finally enforced. Now, why the gap between this, the adoption of the Constitution of India and its enforcement? Now, as I said, let me repeat, the Constitution was adopted on the 26th of November 1949, while it was 2 months later, exactly 2 months later, that it was enforced. The reason is primarily the most important reason is is that we go back in time and to look at the Purna Swaraj Divas. In December 1929, the Indian National Congress met in Karachi for its annual session. At this session, they decided that the INC's committees, presidential committees decided that they will come up with that the British should leave India, and by 26 January 1930, that is, they should give Purna Swaraj, complete independence to India, failing which the India will unilaterally declare independence. Now, we need to appreciate that by 26 January 1930, of course, the British did not leave India and did not grant us independence. So, on the 26th of January 1930, the leaders of the Indian National Congress met in a place, on the banks of river Ravi in Lahore, which is in today's Pakistan. They unfurled the Tiranga there and declared Purna Swaraj. But as we know, while the Purna Swaraj was declared, complete independence was declared, it took us another 17.5 years to become fully independent from British control. So, to commemorate the memory of the Purna Swaraj Divas of 1930, 26 January 1930, the founding fathers of this nation decided that we will enforce the constitution on the 26th of January 1950. So, coinciding with the 20th anniversary of the Purna Swaraj Divas of 1930, the founding fathers of this country decided to enforce the Constitution of India on 26 January 1950. Now, this is the primary reason as to why we chose 26 January 1950. The second reason is that it also happens to be the day on which the first President of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, took the oath of office. And going with the strict definition of what a republic is. A republic is, my friends, a system in which the head of the state is an elected representative. Now, if you look at India, we are a republic, and we became a republic on the 26th of January 1950. Now, apart from the fact that we also enforce the constitution, we had the first president of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, taking an oath of office to the presidency of India. Now, this is the primary reason as to why we are called a republic. Please appreciate the fact that we are a republic because we have an elected head of state. That's the definition of what a republic is. So, if we contrast our country with, let's say, Saudi Arabia. Now, look at Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia doesn't have an elected head of state. It has a monarchy, and as we know, a monarch comes to the office by way of inheritance. So, is the case with Japan, which is a constitutional monarchy, which is also the case with Great Britain. Now, on the other side are the countries of New Zealand, Canada and Australia. These three countries are not republics because when they became independent from British rule, they decided to retain the British monarch as the head of their own nation. So, today the head of the nation of Australia, head of the state of Australia, is the British monarch. So currently it's Queen Elizabeth II. So Queen Elizabeth II is also the head of the state of Australia, as is the case with New Zealand. Such is the case with New Zealand and Canada as well. So while those are not republics, we are a republic because we have an elected head of the state as a representative. Let's go a little further. Now, apart from the fact that the Constitution of India came into force on 26 January 1950, we also need to look at what exactly did it contain in those days. It had 395 articles in 22 parts and 12 schedules. So let me repeat, the original document, the original Constitution of India had 395 articles in 22 parts and 12 schedules. Now what is it like today? Today the Constitution of India has about 448 articles in 25 parts, 12 schedules, and of course since then we have had over 100 amendments. So over a long period of time, in the last almost 70 years, we have had about, let's say, 67 years, we have added 66 years, we have added 100 amendments. We have made lots of changes to the original document. So what exactly are the salient features of the Constitution of India? As I said in the very beginning, it's the longest written constitution in the world. There is no other constitution that comes anywhere close to the length of the Constitution of India, the amount of the number of words in the Constitution of India, the provisions, and of course the number of provisions, the number of articles, number of amendments. No other Constitution of India comes anywhere, no other constitution in the world comes anywhere close to this. Now, the most important thing about the Constitution of India is this is probably the most important legal document that defines governance in India. No body in India, when I say no body, I am talking of institutional bodies, that's like the Supreme Court, like the Parliament. No element of the judiciary, no element of the legislature can override the Constitution of India. This is the most important document in India. Now, what does it establish in terms of a governance system? See, the Parliament of India, the Constitution of India lays down a parliamentary system for governance in India. We have a parliamentary system wherein we have members of parliament, we have council of ministers headed by the prime minister, who is responsible to the house, of course. While the head of the government is the head of the nation is the president, the head of the government is the prime minister. The prime minister leads a council of ministers, and all these council of ministers are members of either houses of the parliament. Now, the Constitution also establishes a bicameral system of legislature at the center. When we say bicameral would mean two houses. So we have the upper house, also called the Rajya Sabha or the Council of Elders, and we have the lower house, which is called the Lok Sabha or the House of Representatives. Now, we need to appreciate the fact that the number of members change are different for these two bodies. Basically, if you look at Rajya Sabha, it has 250 members, while the Lok Sabha has 543 members, 545 members actually. So the numbers basically are different for either houses, both the houses. Now, it also is important to know that the Constitution of India guarantees universal adult franchise. That is, any person, any citizen of this country who is age 18 and above has the right to vote, has the right to exercise their vote. So in this sense, it's a constitutional right. Right to vote is a constitutional right. Now, it also empowers folks like citizens of this country with fundamental rights, and of course it lays down a set of fundamental duties for all of us to follow. In the same vein, it also lays down directive principles of state policy, which are more like guidelines to the government, both center and state, to budget for the provisions in the directive principles, while making legislation. Now, there is something very peculiar about the phrase a union of states. The parliament, the constitution of India describes India as a union of states. Now what does this mean? It means this, that no state can secede from India. While the states are constituents in the Union of India, India is not a union because of any kind of agreement between the constituent units. That is, Maharashtra does not have an agreement with Andhra Pradesh or Telangana or Madhya Pradesh that we will come together to form this country. So, we are a union of states. The country is a union of states where the constituent units are, states. But there is no agreement between these states to come together to form a country. So, at the same time, no state can break away from the country, from the union. So, no state has any right actually. The Constitution of India also declares India to be a secular state. Now, what does it mean? It means that we are as country, we have a system wherein all religions are to be treated on par, which means that India will not have a state religion. We are non-religious, it does not mean we are irreligious. So, the government, in a true sense of the term, the secular means not giving any kind of importance to any religion, but as far as the Indian version is concerned, here equal importance is given to all religions. So, this is how the Western concept of secularism differs from the Indian concept. In the Western concept, no importance is given to any kind of religion, whereas in India, equal importance is given to all religions. So, while we are a secular country, we also have to appreciate that it means that we have no state religion. While being a secular country is both a constitutional thing as well as a practice thing, if you look at countries like Britain, my friends, is a secular country in practice, but it is not a secular country when it comes to a state religion. So, let's look at something like this now. Britain has a state religion, it is called Anglicism. It is called Anglicism, which is a form of Protestant Christianity. So, while Britain has a state religion, it does not, it does not put that into practice, because in practice it is a secular nation where no importance is given to members of any community actually. Whereas in India, we do not have a state religion, but we give equal importance to members of all faiths. What kind of a constitution do we have in terms of amending it? Well, we have a partly rigid and partly flexible. Now, as far as the preamble is concerned, well, no part of the preamble can be amended, nothing in the preamble can be changed, nothing in the basic structure can be changed. But yes, it's it's quite a flexible, flexible constitution that we have, that in the sense that we have had it amended over 100 times, that's a phenomenally, in about 70 years, in less than 70 years we have had amended it over 100 times. That itself shows that the constitution is quite amenable to amendment. It is not as rigid as most people portray it to be. Something like, there is one more provision that we need to appreciate, is that the Constitution of India calls for an independent judiciary. Yes, in India we have an independent judicial system. We have a we have a Supreme Court, we have a High Court for each of the states, or some of the states have come together to form one High Court. But if you look at, let's say, the hierarchy of the courts, we have the Supreme Court, the High Court, then we have the district courts or the Sessions Court. So, it goes down further, it goes further down, but that is how it is actually. And it's quite independent from, in the sense that it's free of control from the legislature or the executive. So, these are the three major organs of our democracy. The Constitution of India has established three major organs: the legislature, the executive, and of course the judiciary. Among other provisions, it has provisions like, it lays down provisions for citizenship. It has features, provisions for members of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, as well as emergency clauses.